I can replace X amount of FTEs with AI.
Mhm.
And while I acknowledge that's part of the value, there's other value. Like AI can make certain use cases possible that weren't possible before. And that I think both are valid. And I think our customers are looking at it that way. A lot of what our customers want from us is give me the unit economics. I'm investing in an agent to do something. What's the cost per outcome? What's the ROI per outcome?
Run your day with Runday.ai.
Sundeep, hello. Happy Thursday. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Sanjay. Thanks for taking the time.
Sure thing. I am in Fort Lauderdale today. I'll be in Atlanta next week for Atlanta Tech Week. How about yourself? Where are you calling from?
I'm based in Austin, Texas.
Oh, beautiful. I used to live in Austin decades ago. I was just there last year to check it out again. And it was funny how things had changed. I think when I was there weren't really a lot of buildings like more than 4 stories. And then, now there's a bunch of them.
Oh,
Have you
yeah,
been there
yeah,
for a while?
Yeah, since 1999. So
Wow, I was there. I was
there
a little bit shortly after, like 2000, 2001.
Yeah. Sorry we missed you. We don't like to lose people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I'm a beach guy, so I'm in Fort Lauderdale, like free diving. But other than the ocean thing, I think Austin would be probably where I'd be
Yeah.
living in the U.S.
Love it. Love it. I'm a scuba diver, but free diving sounds fun.
Yeah, it's just easy. Well, especially when you live on the beach, you just like, you look at the ocean in the morning, and that was my COVID. Fortunately, right? So I just got to wake up, and people had all kinds of like crazy stories, but I was just like, wake up, look at the ocean, and if it's flat, like grab your mask and go for a free dive.
How deep do you go?
Not very deep. In Florida, we have the 3rd largest reef system in the world, and so there's reefs that are like 10 to 20 feet.
Okay.
And so you don't really have to go very, very far to see some amazing nature.
Love it.
Well, tell me more about the business and what you're doing with your customers.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So brief intro. I'm the CEO, one of the founders of Mavvrik. Mavvrik is a software company that's all about helping our customers better manage their AI spend. So I'm guessing you and the folks that listen to your podcast kind of are very aware that AI is quite a topical thing right now. A lot of investors.
Turns out it's expensive. It's not free, and they're $20, and it's not going to replace your whole team for $20 a month, right?
That's exactly right. And I think we're going to see prices actually go up when the VC subsidies go away. So we'll see. But yeah, it turns out it's expensive, and we help our customers measure TCO, ROI, and just drive optimization where we can. And just essentially, you want all the value of AI without all of the spend.
So let's talk about that a little. Yeah. There's definitely, I guess offers right now that are highly subsidized by investors that are out there. But in terms of the token mechanics, right? Like the cost of the compute and the memory and all of that, and memory prices are going up, and some people don't think that's going to, dissipate for until 2030. But in terms of kind of that cost of intelligence. It's interesting. Apple's had sort of a wait and see approach. Like they, instead of spending trillions on AI frontier models, they've sort of waited for the cost to go down. You're seeing, lower cost models, mostly from China, have a very low cost based on, the raw energy output that's required for that same. So it's interesting. We're in this. I think Q1 was like a lot of FOMO, and you had token maxing, and you should be spending half a salary on tokens and this and that. Of course, that's said by the main company who's benefiting from this, NVIDIA. But and so then I think at the end of that quarter, the CFOs all sort of started looking at the P&Ls and are like, wait a minute, what are we getting out of this token maxing situation? And they all kind of like, even Microsoft, right? They clamped down on a lot of the spend. So we're I guess we're in Q3 now. So what's the mindset out there that your customers have about this?
Yeah. So first off, I want to say a personal thing, but the token maxing thing, to me, I don't agree with the mindset. I think I'm an AI optimist, but AI is like a technology like any other. I mean, I've lived through the .com, e-commerce, AR, VR, social, mobile, big technology waves, lots of excitement, lots of investment that follows. That's in some cases irrational. And then we get to equilibrium, which is you apply the technology to the right use case, you measure ROI, and you drive ROI. And I think AI will look and feel very similar to that. Most of our customers are not the kind of companies that thought about token maxing. They thought about it the way that I just said, which is we're excited about this technology. We're going to invest, but we're going to be smart and we're going to evaluate it from a financial perspective. And the other thing I'd say is financial. I think when people think AI a lot, they think about labor replacement. I can replace X amount of FTEs with AI. And while I acknowledge that's part of the value, there's other value. Like AI can make certain use cases possible that weren't possible before. And that I think both are valid. And I think our customers are looking at it that way. A lot of what our customers want from us is give me the unit economics. I'm investing in an agent to do something. What's the cost per outcome? What's the ROI per outcome? That's really what they care about. I'll give you a real example, Sanjay. We're working with a quick service restaurant chain that everybody on your podcast would know. They are replacing the teenager with a headset with an agent. So when you go through the drive-thru, you're talking to an agent, not a human being. They want to get really granular on what's the cost for the agent to take the order versus the human, and what's the value of the order and profitability of the order. And is there a difference? Is the human actually better than the agent? And they want to get to that level of sort of financial visibility.
Talk about that use case. So we're talking about, this is the drive-through situation. Is that right?
Yep.
So drive-through situation, for a while, there was sort of this idea of outsourcing that to overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not seeing a lot of that anymore. So I'm guessing that didn't work out for some reason, perhaps accent or the latency or just the tech involved didn't quite work out. And so now it's like, well, we can run a model, perhaps in the cloud, perhaps locally. They can have a full conversation on orders. Now, orders is the data set is kind of interesting because you don't have to capture, and this is a noisy environment, right? So you don't have to capture every word. You just have to predict which of the things in the menu they likely said, which to me, that's a very interesting use case because you're likely to have very high, and to me, it's always about accuracy, right? Like every AI company I've built, and it's about 16 of them indirectly or directly. It's always, you get to this point where, okay, the tech works, the demos are cool, but is it accurate enough? Like the last one we were doing sizing with LiDAR, and a tape measure up to your body is about 87% accurate in a retail situation. And so we had to beat that for it to add value. And so we got to 92%. And it worked. So I think that's ultimately what's going to determine whether this use case works out. Now, from what you're telling me, it should, right? So you have the menu, you have the database, you have the pricing. It's a pretty small data set to predict what they ordered. They're not asking questions like, oh, are there, maybe some people ask how many calories something is, but they're not asking like, what do you recommend? Or,
Right.
I like this kind of food. Like they kind of visually see what they want. They're there because they've been there before, the value of franchises. And have you seen this implemented fully yet, or is this kind of
it's not been implemented fully. They're running pilots, right? They're running pilots. They're not, I think like a lot of like large national or global companies, they're not just going to go all out with an AI rollout without testing it in certain markets. They have multiple agentic architectures that they're testing.
Got it.
Multiple
but
markets.
They're testing it, and it's not like a laboratory test. They're testing it with real locations.
They're testing it in real restaurants.
Beautiful.
With real human beings. I think there's multiple factors. You're right. The data set's small, so getting technical accuracy is possible, but there's other factors. If the human being knows they're talking to an AI, is that positive? Is that negative? Some people don't want to talk to an AI. They want to talk to a human being. Is there some change? Do they have aborted orders because the person realizes they're talking to an AI? So there's other factors. But I think the point is they don't want to just blindly say because it's AI, it's a positive financial decision. They actually want to do the hard work of measuring cost per order, profitability per order.
Which is what you have to ultimately do.
And we think is the right way to look at anything in technology.
And is it driven more as a cost reduction, or is it driven more because it's hard to hire people to do this job?
It's both. Like I said, I think that a lot of the press, I'm sure your listeners will agree.
The press loves the amygdala fear-based, like, oh, it's going to take your job. Keep watching my news channel.
I don't believe that. I think history.
I've not seen that at all. Zero.
Yeah. Now, some people, there will be some job losses. I'm not questioning, but those, in aggregate, will have job gains, I think. But more than just straight labor replacement, AI is making use cases viable that work. So I'll give you an example. A friend of mine is a mechanical engineer. When people build like a data center or a lab or an oil refinery, they hire him and his ilk to do all the electrical and mechanical work in the building. They create hundreds and thousands of drawings like every month. Every one of those drawings has to be QA'd. And typically that's a human being that bills at $250 an hour that's manually QAing page by page by page. It's monotonous, mind numbing, expensive, error prone. Your eyes start glazing over. He has now built an AI based application to QA those documents for you. And the feedback from the market is amazing. And it's not even a financial thing. It's more just like, wow, you've made my job so much better. And that's an example of something that literally, that's not just labor replacement. That's something that was not possible before and now is. And so that gets me excited, right? Is like,
to me, it's like, you used to have a team, right? To do a job, you got to have a team, like I build software, there's usually a website and there's, web apps I've been doing for a long time. And so, you needed a graphic designer, you got to prototype the thing, you got to now make the colors, icons, fonts, and then you needed a project manager to coordinate everybody. So now I can do more projects with much smaller teams. So the calculus of that to me is like, I have more projects. And net, I have way more people I'm hiring. And also, I think one of the differences is that like I'm hiring more junior people, right? Like before where I needed like a certain level of experience. Okay, you've done this kind of architecture before. Now somebody who, like I did a game in Rust and WebAssembly. I don't know Rust. And so just by myself, I was able to kind of put something functional together. And then, just with one person, I can launch this game after we figure out how to monetize it. And I'm seeing that type of pattern in a lot of projects where I can take a much smaller team, do a project I wouldn't have been able to do. And so that's my thesis and why, at least in the world I'm seeing, AI has created way more jobs than someone deciding I need to cut costs.
We're seeing that. So on my team, so I run a software company, so I have a software engineering team, like no surprise. And I have about 15 people on my team. Before, we were probably building 2 features a month, just to pick a number. Now we're probably doing something like 10 features a month.
Crazy, right?
The raw throughput's greater. But what's even more interesting than that is the job of a software engineer at Mavvrik is totally different. Writing code is besides the point. Like to your example, you don't know how to code Rust, but the AI will do that for you. Writing the code is not what my software engineers are doing now. They're basically product managers. They need to understand the requirements. They need to know what the UI looks like, what the customer workflow needs to look like, and they define that. And then the AI writes the code. So I would argue that's a much better, more interesting job. The feedback from my engineering team is very positive. They like their jobs way better than they used to.
Yeah.
It's a much more intellectually rewarding thing than sort of writing code after code after code. So.
And it reduces the politics. I think, with the politics, I'm the project manager, and I'm the senior engineer, and you're junior, and like, it's like we're all just kind of this little like ragtag team of misfits putting together something interesting now. Yep. And the politics and is a lot less, and the fun is a lot more.
Yeah, that's why I'm an optimist. It sounds like you're an optimist too. I think in 2 to 3 years, we're all going to be like, yeah, this is a good thing. We're going to have some high profile failures along the way. And people will say, oh, the AI thing's overhyped. But in aggregate, I think we're going to see a lot of positive action.
It's not just a good thing. I think Elon's kind of right. Like you look at the $40 trillion debt that the U.S. has, the only way out of it is growth. And without population growth, because, 154 countries have negative population growth now. There's a few exceptions. Like without population growth, how do you have economic growth? And our entire fiat currency system is based on growth. So it's sort of, it's a salvation, right? Like whether it's positive or negative, it's necessary unless we all start having a lot more kids.
It's interesting. So like, I agree with you. And you talked sort of attracting labor is hard, particularly in a population that's shrinking. I'm working with a couple companies that literally on their org chart, they have agents mixed with human beings on their org chart.
Wow.
Which I think is an interesting concept. Like they were even like, if you're familiar with Workday, right? Sort of a big, very popular HR system. They want Workday to support agents. So like literally agents have costs and benefits and they feel like human beings organizationally and functionally, which I think is an interesting way. It's probably not where my brain goes, but like that's the way they're thinking about it.
Very interesting. So for members of the audience that are there, perhaps they were token maxing or spending a little bit too much in Q1 and then sort of the pendulum swung the other way in Q2 and now they're trying to find balance. How do they work with your team and your platform to kind of get to somewhere more interesting? Should they reach out to you directly on LinkedIn or kind of read one of these impact things you guys have done?
Yeah, I mean, certainly anybody listening to this podcast can reach out to me, or you can go to our website and you can ask for more information. It's very, very easy. But yeah, I mean, typically the way we work with our customers is customers come in and they have a problem. They have, hey, I just rolled out 12 AI agents and I'm losing way more money on them than I expected. Or I have multiple competing initiatives and I need to figure out which ones to fund and which ones not to fund. Or my CFO said I have to bring down costs by 30%, or there's some problem. We will typically work with you, sort of prior to sort of any commercial commitment to identify the problem, and we'll figure out, can we solve it? And what does it look like to solve? And then at that point, we'll jointly decide, does this make sense to proceed? So we like to start with our customers in sort of a very easy, free way before we all say our commitments.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Sanjay. Good luck to you.